that it's two separate places.
Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect. Two separate places. Awesome. Awesome. Well, we are live. Welcome. So welcome, Patricia. Hello. Thank you
Hi
so much,
there.
everyone, for joining us for another Fitness Manager Report. So this Fitness Manager Report is all about helping you improve your teams, grow your teams, and succeed with your teams. And I've had Patricia on my podcast and YouTube channel before. She's a brilliant mind, brilliant leader in the group fitness space. We spoke to mostly the group fitness space last time, which we will speak to a lot today. But when we do talk about the topic of taking clients and bringing them into your team of talent, how to do that, what it looks like, and why it's important, we'll also kind of hint at, you could do this with personal trainers as well. I've seen it definitely work in that arena as well. But a little bit about Patricia. She is the group fitness director for all of Las Vegas and the Henderson Valley clubs, facilities of athletic, the Las Vegas athletic clubs of those two areas, Las Vegas and Henderson Valley. We got it. We got it. So it's a lot. I think it's over 7 facilities, right?
7 facilities, correct. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I've overseen only 3 and I almost wanted to lose. I was losing my mind. So that's my max.
Sometimes.
It's my max. So impressive. And she presented at IDEA last year. We're going to see each other at this upcoming IDEA World in 2023. So really exciting to have her back on. But on the topic of basically taking clients, people who take our classes and who attend our sessions with our personal trainers, to transfer them into being our talent or actually taking on those roles, I've had the experience of working with facilities, talking to instructors at facilities and managers at facilities where they're afraid to make that transition, to encourage clients to become instructors and personal trainers. And Patricia and I are on the same page as being that that's silly. It's crazy. Like she said, should not be something you're concerned about. The 2 concerns they tend to have, just to put them on the table, are that by hiring that client, they are basically removing a member from their membership base. And I'll let Patricia speak to why that's silly in a second. And the second concern is that if it's kind of like hiring a family member, how do you, if things start to go awry or astray, if they start doing things wrong and there has to be maybe separation or a difficult discussion, how do you do that when they used to be a client of yours? So Patricia, what are your first responses to those 2 challenges these communities or companies see?
Well, I think that you're missing a huge swath of resources to assume that relationship may not work, right? So you can take that member who is clearly excited about taking group fitness classes and convert that member into a resource for your team. So once we've done that, and we've done that in the past, and we're doing it to this day, the fear of losing that person as a member is really crazy, because what happens is that person now brings in other resources for you, or other memberships, I should say. So whether it's their sister, their auntie, their children, you're going to start to feed in, it's feeding upwards, right? That person converts, and now they're like, come to my classes. Everybody in my family, come to my classes, my friends, my whatever. And that may not be, the case, but you're going to trickle in additional memberships from that person's conversion. And I think it's crazy not to have that in your bailiwick, right? Mm-hmm. And the other question about how do you manage that person, as a facility director or a manager or coordinator, you should have some boundaries, right? So whether that is a gentle policies and procedures manual that says, as a group fitness instructor, these are the things that we expect you to do or not to do. And so everybody has to be invested in buying into those concepts of how you run your department. And if you ever have to have that discussion, you still need to follow the process of an HR person, right? Whether you have an HR background, if you're in a small niche studio, you still need to have a process where, hey, Stacy, you did this and it wasn't the right way. Let's document this to your file. Hey, Stacy, you're still not doing this the right way. Let's go ahead and progress with that documentation. And at some point, if this person, my fictitious Nick Stacy, says I'm out,
Yeah.
then that relationship has to be severed. And maybe that Stacy says, I'm going to go back and just have my membership. And we've had that done as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
The instructor just doesn't work out. We separate ourselves from employer to employee, and then they just rejoin the masses in terms of becoming a member. So you don't ultimately, unless it's a really horrible breakup, which you want to avoid with those processes, right? But you have to have some boundaries and some structure to say, once you become part of this team, here's what everybody has to follow, right? And you have to separate yourself from friend to manager. And I think that that's something that you ultimately have to learn how to do if you're running a business like that. But yeah, you're missing out on huge resources if you don't start to convert some of those members, especially if you're an instructor teaching a class and you see 2 or 3 people in your group of 50 or 60. We have huge rooms, so we have a lot of people. And I personally will pull those people aside and say, have you ever thought about being an instructor? Some say no. And then some say, yeah, I've been wanting to do this like for years. Yeah. So you start to bring them into the fold and say, okay, let's go ahead and make this transition and see if we can work. Yeah.
No, and I can't agree. I couldn't agree more. I think we both, because we can speak from experience, we've been able to hire members and I've had honestly almost no bad experiences. I mean, knock on wood at this point, but very, very beneficial employees, and they really understand our culture going into it because they've seen it performed well among our current instructors and personal trainers. So, and they know what they probably want that is lacking, and that they can give. So
exactly.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, managers and directors, that they're looking at your ability, your program from another viewpoint, right? They come to class, they go to their favorite instructor, they have an amazing experience, and then they go home. And now all of a sudden they're on the other side of that barrier. And now it's like they have to take a different role, right? They now have to be a role model to the members and kind of follow the rules and lay up the land. So it's up to us to kind of educate them and ensure that we really hone in on their investment of becoming an instructor. And we can manage that really, really well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And actually, to that point, once, like you said, once you pluck those people from classes or from sessions and you decide, we'd love to give you this opportunity or to test out what you have available to them, what is it that you offer people to kind of make that decision as to whether this is the right role for them?
Yeah, so when we kind of see someone, so let me back up. We have what we call a group fitness education introduction, right? So it's kind of a workshop that we say, hey, if you're thinking about becoming an instructor, come take this workshop. Here's what we're going to expect you to learn. And those are some of the elements of how we move, how we teach. What are the best things we do? We talk about music, we talk about movement, we talk about format. And then some of those folks go, nope, not for me. You know what? This is great. I'm just going to be a member. And then some of them go, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So we've converted people just based on that meeting to say, okay, I knew there was more to it than you guys looking amazing on stage. And I'm in, I'm really invested. So we may have pulled in 5 of those people that say I'm interested, and we may lose 2 of them that say, yeah, not for me. But now we've got 3 people that we can say, okay, we're going to get you mentored. We're going to sign you up with a team lead. We're going to get you signed up for some certifications so that you can actually teach a format. And then we hand them off to what I call my team leads per format, right? So we start that mentoring program to get them ready. And we give them about 3 months, because if you're brand new, and you've never taught group fitness before, you'd be surprised at the shock value. Oh my God, is this what you guys really do? So we give them about 3 months to kind of make that transition. And ultimately they have to do a final audition for me to say that they're absolutely ready. And then we bring them on board as an official employee and instructor. So we do, yes, make that transition.
I love it. Yeah, hearing that whole process is awesome. Hearing that timeline of 3 months, that's great, because I think that'll help a lot of people who are listening who've never done this before go, okay, how long do I give them? How much do I give them? So with the actual certification, helping them obtain that, do you get really specific on what you want them to achieve? And then do you actually pay for that or compensate at all for that? Just curious.
Yeah, so we have, I've got several ACE approved courses that we offer in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will put them through those individual workshops. So if there's someone that's, let's say, a yoga lover, well, I will tell them to go to Les Mills and take a body balance training. Les Mills is great when it comes to, musicality and timing and that kind of thing. So that gives them their first intro in facing the members. And then the other one is that we have workshops that we develop in-house. As I said, they're ACE approved. You have to put a lot of work in there, send them to ACE. They either approve them or not approve them, but you do get CEC. So we want to show that these courses are of value, right? Now, we do charge them because we have to put some value on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so the ones that do pay, we realize, okay, they're invested in this process. And if they're invested in the process, that means that they're going to go further and further. Now, sometimes some of them they simply don't make it. And that's okay. But I think as managers and directors, you have to have an honest discussion with those folks during that 3-month process, right? You have to gently say, I think you're amazing. Your energy is amazing, but this is really not the avenue for you. So you have to be really, really mindful of having honest discussions. And so once they go through a program that they can relate to, whether it's cycle, we have a cycle approved, ACE approved course. We have an aqua approved ACE approved course. We have a high intensity approved. So you've got to make sure that you're putting in the effort to kind of fold these people into your programming. And so you have to figure out, what is Joe good at? Well, he's good at this HIT training program, and we're going to pull him into that workshop, and then we'll mentor him or her from that point forward. So we want to put like with like, and we want to make sure that they're going to be successful at the end of that 3 months. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that suggestion of pairing them with the right mentor. That's so
Absolutely.
strategic.
Yeah.
So smart. And actually on that note, I mean, you've done such a great job describing all of it, but is there anything else that you would recommend when it comes to the actual, so you've, like you said, you explained that training process really well. You've done most of the onboarding, and then at that point they're with the team lead. What are some of the things that you ask the team leads to do with that instructor to kind of help them get to that point of being able to teach?
Well, the team leads are going to get paid for their time. That's absolutely imperative, because you have to make sure that your team leads are valued, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I do is we carve out over the 3 months specific times that they're going to meet with that person, that they're going to meet with me, and that here are the things that, so there's a list of items you want that team lead to go through. So you should have that cornered down. And that team lead should be ticking off, yep, needs improvement, et cetera, et cetera. So the team lead, you have to give them some time. You have to give them some flexibility. But you've got to make sure that your team lead is the right person to do this transition. Right? Yes, we want people that have beautiful egos and they have their performance aspect, but you've got to make sure you pull back enough so that that team lead is someone that when you walk away is going to manage that process for you. So yeah, it really it's marrying that team lead to that person. And sometimes it just doesn't work, Stacey. I mean, let's be fair. Sometimes it's a beautiful relationship and sometimes it just isn't. So your point as a manager, you intervene and try to figure out whether it's fixable. And if it's not fixable, you've got to let it go. You just kind of move on into the next person. But you've also got to keep an eye on your team lead. So, because that's what they are. They're a team lead. They're not a manager. They're not your director. So you're managing both processes at the end. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned pay those team leads, because sometimes I think that's like that extra work and necessary compensation some places may forget about. And you're so right about the managing of the team leads that are managing their time, right? Because sometimes some of our more talented instructors who may just know how to teach and they have a hard time sometimes, I think, explaining it or understanding how to help someone understand how and why it's happening. And so I think that process potentially, by being a team lead, if it works well, they might learn a lot. They might actually learn, okay, now I'm learning how to actually explain to someone how I do what I do, why so many people take my classes.
Yeah.
and then also help someone accomplish that, which is, I think, such a good relationship over time and humbling for
And
maybe that
humbling.
team
Yeah.
lead. Yeah.
And make sure your team lead actually wants to do this. So,
Yeah. That's
we
great
see
too.
someone that is, that's a great team lead, but make
Yep.
sure that they actually want to do it, right? Because if they're
Hmm.
not invested in it and they just want to teach, then that's what you should respect. Yeah.
Yes, that's so true. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. Because you could lose someone if they're like, okay, what the heck are they thinking putting me in this role? I just want to like focus on this, and that is so true. That's so so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, Patricia and I both hope that we've convinced you, if you were on the fence about this, I don't know, even just give it a try. Like what's it gonna hurt if you have these two fears or maybe more fears? Share in the comments if you have additional fears that you'd love us to address or respond to, but we cannot encourage you enough to take this leap to invest in your clients and potentially bring them onto your team. Anything else you want to share that you can think of, Patricia, about this topic? Just curious.
Well, I just think that, that ultimately leads into them being a part of your audition and then being a part of your resources, right? So we are, as group fitness directors and managers, are having a tough time recruiting group fitness instructors these days. And it's really become a challenge for us. I do open auditions. We have one coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I use every resource that I can to get that out there. I use our marketing team, and now some of you may not have a marketing team, so you may have to become your marketing person. I use my instructors. Here's a link, here's the time, here's the location. Share it with everybody that you possibly can. And I think we have about 45 people signed up for the open audition. And that is for everything. That's for dance, that's for Les Mills, that's for cycle, that's for yoga. So come June 3rd, I will hopefully would have hired some of those people, right?
Yeah.
That don't be afraid of open auditions. Even if sometimes you get a low turnout, you might still be able to hire from that low turnout, right? But on the front end of those open auditions, you've got to put the legwork in, give yourself enough time. We started advertising this, oh my gosh, about a month or so ago. I send out links once a week. I send out links to my instructors. They're probably sick of me sending out links. Hey guys, don't forget to share. We put this on our Facebook pages, our Instagram. So, and then we create a landing page that says, sign up for the auditions. It's free. And let us know what you're going to be auditioning for. So it's really, you've got to put the legwork in ahead of time to get those people to show up to your auditions. Yeah. It's a lot of work, and it can be frustrating when 6 people show up, but it is what it is. You
Yeah,
make
no,
it
that's
6 people.
amazing. I love that process, and getting your instructors involved is wonderful too, because they may announce it in their classes, and this whole topic of potential clients that didn't even know that was happening, they might go, "This is my opportunity."
Yeah.
So, um,
And you should be using your instructors to blast out any messages that you may have, right? Even if it's those, hey guys, Patricia's having a meeting about whether or not you want to become an instructor. Get your instructors to post that on their pages. Get your instructors to announce it at the beginning of their meetings. So they have to be your mouthpiece if you want to get some success and getting people in the door. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, as always, for
My
jumping
pleasure.
on, being a part of the Fitness Manager Report. We thank you so much. The audience, I'm sure, really thanks you. So, we'll be sharing this recording everywhere, as well as on the podcast, and in the future, in future recordings on my, annual or monthly newsletter, all kinds of places. But I
Awesome.
also wanted to share, so our next interview, we're meeting with Tamra about, she's someone who, after my leading and guiding potentially clients or instructors with disabilities, helping them become potentially instructors or helping them have a better experience. I did that more recently with another guest, but Tamra, in the fitness industry, she's going to be our next guest next month. I think later end of June. I can't remember the day and time exactly. I've been more flexible on that, but she's going to be speaking to how her specific experience of teaching as an instructor, being diagnosed with MS. So how that went, how she's doing now, how to take care of yourself if you happen to be an instructor with that challenge. So want to preface with the next interview. Definitely don't want to miss that. Thank you again so much, Patricia, for your time, and I'll
Absolutely.
see you
Pleasure.
at IDEA.